Hey gang, welcome back. We're out at the Chicago Yacht Club warehouse today. We've climbed up into the cockpit of a Tom28 and we want to continue on our video series to show you some of the similarities and differences between our fleet of Sonars and our fleet of Tom28s. First, right away, you may notice how different the layout in the cockpit of the Tom28 is. Yes, I'm sitting here very comfortably, but I'm up on the deck first where our Sonar had those interior seats. This boat, you might have an experience of getting a little wetter when we're out on Lake Michigan this spring or summer. The splash does like to come in, and that's one of the pleasures, one of the joys of sailing the Tom28. Couple things we want to show, like our Sonar. The mast on the Tom28 does go through our deck into the hull of the boat. If we open this hatch, when you get inside this hatch, this is where we may store sails, rigging, winch handles and stuff. And as you can see down there, the mast would come through and affix right on top of the keel. That other big stainless plate you see is where the keel is actually bolted into the hull of the Tom28. Similarity between the Sonar and the Tom28 is I move forward in the boat, I am moving up towards the bow. As I mentioned, our mast would go here, the forestay would go up towards the bow, our shrouds here on the starboard side, shroud fitting here on the port side. The backstay obviously goes back at the stern of the boat. Like our Sonar, we have jib lead and jib track here on the Tom28. You see we have some nice numerical markings. One of the things that Maggie mentioned last Thursday was it's always good to have a set of wet notes with you. These you can write down wind condition, wave condition, weather observations. You could take a recording of where your jib lead, what felt fast that day, what good tactical decisions you made. So a great thing to grab in the coming weeks. Our jib sheets on the Tom28s are also 2-to-1 as on the Sonar. We would tie the jib sheet into our block, run it up through the clew of the jib, back to our lead, and then big difference between the two boats is the Toms have a winch. See, I have the winch handle in here. That sounds really nice. I think the warehouse team's done a great job servicing the winches over the winter. We would use this to trim our jib. One thing I wanted to show, Spinnaker pole. We didn't get a chance to illustrate that when we were down on the Sonar. Both fleet of boats have Spinnaker poles. Tom28, the Spinnaker pole happens to lay down here in the bow. Interesting enough, this is also where our spinnaker would go. As I mentioned, when we were down on the Sonar, you saw as I climbed up on top of the cockpit, on top of the hood of the Sonar to show you where you would stand to jibe the spinnaker pole. Here in the Tom, you're more kind of contained in the boat. The mast is coming up right here, you facing forward. This is where you would manipulate the spinnaker pole when you're setting, dousing, or jibing. I'm going to continue back towards the winches, jib trimming, spinnaker trimming area. These are the tweaker blocks on the Tom28. Little different setup than we have on the Sonar. This ratchet block here is where the spinnaker sheet gets led into the cockpit of the Tom28. So as you can see, our jib and spinnaker controls are all right here just behind the mast. Jib lead, spinnaker tweaker lead. This is the turning block for the spinnaker sheet. And then we can use the winch, if necessary, to manipulate our sheets. As we slide aft in the boat, here's the main sheet block. Now, one big difference I want to show you between the Tom and the Sonar is if you remember from our Sonar, The main sheet purchase system was right with the Traveler, more in the middle of the boat. The Traveler and the Tom happens to be all the way back here behind the rudder post. This Traveler line is led forward, and that's this black and yellow line you see here. The green one happens to be our backstay control. The backstay, as we mentioned on the Sonar, is also led on the transom of the Tom28 back here. Look at this cool fun rack. When we get sailing this year, these were added when the boats were at the Chicago Match Race Center. And if I can show you, this could be something fun we could do this year, where you can actually have an opportunity to have another passenger along. Maybe we invite some wonderful first responders from the Chicago area to come out and enjoy a sail with us at the Chicago Yacht Club this year. And they're back here, completely out of the way, while we're up there having a great day sailing. Tiller extension, tiller. That attaches to the rudder, which we showed you when we were down below. And that gives you a basic introduction to our Tom28s. And we're really looking forward to getting them wet this year in the summer of 2020 and enjoy some fantastic sailing. So thank you for joining us. Cheers, team.